Welcome to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and today we're tackling something that keeps enterprise leaders up at night: AI governance and EU AI Act readiness. In less than 2 years, August 2026 arrives, and the EU AI Act enforcement clock is ticking. Sam, we're looking at penalties up to $30 million or 6% of global revenue. That's not a small compliance checkbox. That's existential.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. Only 23% of European enterprises have actually started meaningful governance preparations, despite 78% saying they understand the regulatory risk. It's a massive gap. We're seeing organizations cross-functionally scrambling because they didn't anticipate how broadly high-risk AI is actually defined in the Act.
So let's unpack what high risk actually means, because I think a lot of listeners assume it's just about the flashy stuff, like predictive policing or social credit systems. What are enterprises actually getting caught by?
The surprise is how ordinary many high-risk applications are. If you're using AI for recruitment, resume filtering, interview analysis, even termination recommendations, that's high risk. Financial services like credit scoring, fraud detection, insurance underwriting, all high risk. Education systems that predict learning outcomes or advancement, critical infrastructure monitoring, even law enforcement applications. Basically, if AI is influencing consequential decisions about people's lives or systems they depend on, it's probably high risk.
So a mid-market company using an AI tool to screen job applicants faster, they need to treat that as seriously as a bank building a credit scoring model?
Absolutely. And that's where most organizations trip up. They think we're just optimizing hiring with a commercial tool, but the Act doesn't care. You need documented risk assessments, bias testing across protected characteristics, human oversight protocols, and you need to notify candidates that AI was involved. Skip any of that, and you're looking at audits, remediation demands, operational disruption, and reputational damage.
That sounds paralyzing. But here's what I found interesting in the material we reviewed. There's a flip side. While everyone's anxious about compliance, there's simultaneously this explosion in agentic AI systems actually delivering real business value. Talk me through that tension.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive. You'd expect enterprises to be freezing AI investments until they figure out governance. Instead, we're seeing a bifurcation. Organizations that get governance right aren't slowing down. They're actually accelerating and competing harder. McKinsey's data shows 65% of early adopters now have autonomous AI agents in production. These aren't chatbots. They're agents actively handling workflows.
What kind of workflows are we talking about? Because that sounds abstract.
Very concrete. Supplier negotiation agents are reducing procurement cycles by 40% and improving contract terms by 12 to 18%. Code generation and review agents are accelerating development velocity by 35% while reducing critical bugs by 22%. Customer service agents are resolving 73% of inquiries without human escalation with 91% satisfaction. Financial analysis agents identifying anomalies 4 times faster than traditional dashboards. These aren't theoretical gains. Organizations are measuring and reporting ROI.
So the smart enterprises aren't seeing governance as a break. They're seeing it as infrastructure. If you build governance right from the start with agentic systems, you actually scale faster than competitors who'll later have to retrofit compliance. Is that fair?
Spot on. EtherLink has worked with over 200 European enterprises on this transition, and the pattern is clear. Organizations that implement robust AI lead architecture principles from day one. That's your governance framework, your architectural decisions, your oversight mechanisms. They're already outpacing competitors in deployment velocity. It's not despite governance, it's because of it.
So what does that actually look like for a chief digital officer trying to figure out where to start? Is there a roadmap?
Absolutely. First, you need honest inventory. Audit what AI systems you're currently running. Map them to high-risk categories. Be comprehensive. It's easier to discover these now than in a compliance audit later. Second, assess the risk and impact of each system. Third, build your governance structure. That's not a policy document. That's actual operational infrastructure. Oversight committees, documentation protocols, testing frameworks.
I'm guessing build it yourself isn't realistic for most organizations?
Not in the time frame we're working with. Many enterprises don't have in-house expertise or bandwidth. That's where fractional AI consultancy and specialized governance frameworks come in. Organizations are increasingly working with external partners who've seen 200-plus implementations and know what actually works versus what looks good in theory.
You mentioned AI Center of Excellence earlier. Is that a required structure, or is it more of a best practice pattern?
It's emerging as essential for enterprises at scale. A center of excellence is a cross-functional hub, engineering, compliance, ethics, business units, that owns AI governance, establishes standards, reviews deployments, and manages the interface with regulators. It's where architecture meets accountability. Smaller enterprises might do this with fewer resources, but the function is critical.
Let's talk about DSLMs, domain-specific large language models. I'm guessing those have their own governance implications?
They do, but differently. A DSLM trained on your financial data or HR records or legal documents is high risk depending on how you deploy it. If it's influencing consequential decisions, yes, high risk. But DSLMs also represent an opportunity because they're purpose-built. You control the training data, you understand the model's scope and limitations, and you can build oversight mechanisms from the foundation. It's harder to retrofit safety into a general-purpose model than to build it into a domain-specific one.
So the enterprise that builds its own DSLM actually has a governance advantage over the one licensing a general AI platform?
In many cases, yes. You have radically more visibility and control. You're not dependent on a vendor's governance posture. You can document exactly what data went in, test for specific biases relevant to your domain, and build monitoring that makes sense for your use case. Regulators will appreciate that transparency.
Okay, so let's ground this. If I'm a European retailer with 5,000 employees, and I'm using AI for three things: hiring recommendations, fraud detection in payments, and inventory optimization, what's my 2026 readiness plan?
Step 1. Hiring and fraud detection are definitely high risk. You need to document the risk assessment for each. What are the potential harms? Step 2. Build or audit your testing protocols. For hiring, that's bias testing across age, gender, ethnicity, and potentially other protected characteristics. For fraud detection, it's false positive rates, false negatives, and whether legitimate transactions are being blocked. Step 3. Establish human oversight. Not humans rubber-stamping AI decisions, but humans with authority to override and review edge cases.
And documentation? That sounds tedious but crucial.
Critical. You need to document your risk assessment methodology, testing results, oversight procedures, and how you notify users. This isn't for your filing cabinet. Auditors will review this. Regulators will review this. Courts will review this if there's a dispute. Make it defensible.
What about the inventory optimization piece? That's not directly about people.
Inventory optimization is probably lower risk unless it's feeding into supplier negotiations in a way that affects them unfairly, or if it's impacting your ability to serve customers equitably, like shortchanging certain regions systematically. Generally, it's lower risk than hiring or fraud, but monitor it. The regulatory landscape could evolve.
Timeline-wise, if this retailer starts today, can they be ready by August 2026?
With focus, yes. Most enterprises need 6 to 12 months for substantive governance rollout if they move decisively, but they need to start now. The organizations that wait another year will be scrambling, and honestly, those that started thinking about this in late 2024 have a real advantage.
What's the biggest misconception you encounter when talking to enterprises about this?
That governance is about compliance, satisfying regulators. It's not. Governance is about managing risk, ensuring fairness, and scaling safely. Compliance is the floor. Organizations that think of it as just passing an audit miss the competitive advantage. The real winners are building governance to understand their AI, improve it, and compete harder.
Final question. Should enterprises be slowing down AI adoption to figure this out, or accelerating?
Accelerate with architecture. Don't deploy without governance frameworks in place, but don't stop deploying. The organizations that are going to dominate post-August 2026 are the ones that figured out how to govern and scale simultaneously. They're already in production with autonomous agents, learning from their implementations and iterating. That's competitive advantage.
Sam, thanks for breaking this down. Listeners, this is a complex landscape, and there's a lot more depth in the full article. Head over to etherlink.ai to find the complete guide on AI governance and EU AI Act readiness. It dives into architectural frameworks, readiness assessments, and specific strategies for different enterprise sizes. Thanks for joining us on EtherLink AI Insights.
Thanks for having me, Alex. And to our listeners, August 2026 feels far away, but it's genuinely not. Start your readiness assessment now. The future belongs to enterprises that got governance right.